Hey guys, it's me. Today we're going to talk about the Covington kids and the chaos surrounding them. Coming up.
Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Just going to say right now, this is not stolen valor. This is a shirt that was given to me by a good buddy of mine named Brian, who is in the military, and he's a good friend of mine. And he gave it to me. He proudly gave it to me. He also gave me a Fort Meade shirt, but I wear it with pride as a supporter of the military. I don't steal valor, unlike certain Native American activists named Nathan Phillips. We'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. It's been a while since we talked. And I won't say that I'm at a loss for words because I'm going to talk about this, you see. But I'm really disgusted by the left in this country, those who oppose Donald Trump. They have really taken things to the most sickening level possible. There was a pro-life rally in Washington, D.C. Now, generally, when pro-life people and conservatives get together, they do so peacefully. They don't leave the place a wreck like the Antifa does, or like Occupy did, or like Black Lives Matter does. There were some kids in front of the Lincoln Memorial, and they're kids. They drove out from Kentucky, Covington, Kentucky, right across from Cincinnati. I used to live in Fort Thomas nearby, and I've done many events at Cov Cath. It's a great school. There are great schools there. Cov Cath is one of them. This tears at me because I've got a son who's now 19 years old. He was just graduated from high school last year. He's never had a racist bone in his body. He's never had any animus towards people of color. He grew up, he went to an elementary school that was literally about 10% white. Okay? So at his birthday party, we called his friends the United Nations because they were all different colors and creeds and religions, and it didn't matter. But the left in this country has decided they want to make it like it's 1968 all over again, and it's not. My son is a white boy. He is my son. He is not a white supremacist. He has never been privileged. He's paying for his own college, and he's done everything he's done in his life. He's worked his ass for, and I'm concerned for him because there are radical leftists who want him not only to be held back, they want him hurt. These kids from Covington Catholic were standing in front of the Lincoln Memorial when several of these black Israelite radical leftists who are constantly in Washington, D.C., constantly spewing hate at metro exits. These guys are known for this. And they started calling these Cov Cath kids, I'm just going to say it, faggots, white supremacists, white trash, crackers. I could go on and on and on. Nathan Phillips is a professional activist. He protested the Dakota pipeline. Oh, yeah, and said he was spat upon when he got back from Vietnam. Never went to Vietnam. Finally had to admit it this morning because the media would not ask him. So this radical activist does what all leftists do at protests. They get in your face, they get right up against you and do everything they can to provoke violence. That was what he was doing. If he was there to provoke peace, he would have done the same thing to the black Israelites, but he was too much of a pussy and a pansy. He's too much of a coward. He's a coward. Nathan Phillips is not a sage. The only reason he's a tribal elder is because he's old. He's never done anything in his life terribly notable except for agitate and become a professional protester. That's what he does. And his buddies there were saying, go back to Europe to the white kids. Go back to Europe to the white kids. And now that we've seen the video, we've got video. We've got video. We've got a 2-hour video surrounding the entire incident. None of it shows the kids being provocative. None of them. Nathan Phillips says that they were doing the tomahawk chop. No, they weren't. They never did. Never did. He's been piling up one lie after another. And the media is still backing this guy. These kids' lives have been turned upside down. This is what the left does. Saturday Night Live writer. She writes sketch comedy. Sarah Beatty. She likes to show off her boobs on Instagram, so she's very famous. She's hot. She's in her 20s, so she's a big deal, right? She says that she'd offer oral sex to anybody willing to punch the kid in the face. To anybody willing to punch him in the face. Nick Sandman, anybody to physically assault a 16-year-old kid, which is criminal, she will perform oral sex on him. Real classy. Are you proud of yourself, left? Does this make you proud? Are you a leftist? Do you support this Nathan Phillips? Do you support him? Does this make you proud? Because if it does, you are a sick, sick person. You are sick in the head. You are vile. You are ignorant. And you are dangerous. Covington Catholic. People fantasized openly online about locking the doors and burning the building down with everyone inside. Do you see how ungodly dangerous that is? Do you understand what's being said here? A Native American elder gets in the face of a white kid. The white kid stands there for a split second, smiles, and that's a smirk suddenly and a sign of disrespect. That is deserving of burning a building down with hundreds of people inside, burning them to death. Does that make you proud? Does that make you proud? If it does, you are a sick, sick human being. You need to live on an island with your fellow volunteers. Freelance Vulture journalist. Vulture is the name of the publication. Fired for his job at the digital company, INE Entertainment. Basically, he said, I don't know what it says about me, but I've truly lost the ability to articulate the hysterical rage, nausea, and heartache this makes me feel. I just want these people to die. Simple as that, every single one of them and their parents. Are you kidding me? People in this country, the left, and I have someone who comments on my Facebook page named Thomas, and he said this all started with Donald Trump. No, it didn't. It didn't. It started with Occupy, Black Lives Matter, Antifa. It happened before Donald Trump was president. If you had gone to any Donald Trump campaign rallies, you'd see the left showed up and threatened violence constantly. Okay, so you are once again wrong, Thomas. You're always wrong. Everything you say on my page is wrong. And I always back it up with facts. And you show me another piece of media that is a false narrative created by the media, and I prove you wrong every single time. Racism is in its boomer death throes. It will die out with this younger generation. Look at these SH-eating grins on all these young white slugs' faces. Just perverse pleasure at wielding a false dominion that they've been taught their whole life was their divine right. Effing die. This is an adult. This is a sick individual. This son of a bitch should never have another job in media. GQ writer, meanwhile, apologized for calling to share the parents' private information on social media, also known as doxing, by the way, which is evil. It's evil to share the private information, where people live, why? For the sole purpose of sending the mob there to hurt them. That's what it's there for. This man needs to go to jail. GQ's Nathaniel Friedman told the Rap, it's another great publication like Vulture, that the tweet in which he wrote, dox them all, was irresponsible and occurred in the heat of the moment because I was upset. Well, so what? You're still an adult. It partly came from having been doxed by MAGA people myself. Oh, sure. You lying sack of crap. But that's no excuse. Yeah, you were doxxed, and no one should wish that on anyone else. It's counterproductive to anything along those lines, and if you make yourself look like an irrational, mean idiot, you're playing right into their hands. Well, you did that, sir. You did that, for sure. Another guy said that he wanted to put the Covington kids, particularly Nick Sandmann, into a wood chipper. Then he said, oh, yeah, you know, it was satire. I was referring to the movie Fargo. No, it wasn't satire. He said the kids run headlong into a wood chipper. That's not satire. That's not satire. The left has been fomenting rage, calling, saying that Donald Trump is a Nazi, saying that there are Nazis in the White House. A couple of years ago at the press club dinner, what the hell was it? They had a comedian, and he said, Steve Bannon's not here. I do not see him. Nazi. Remember that? And you may think that this is done for a reason. This is done to foment rage. This is irrational rage. And the more success that the president has with whatever he does, the worse it gets. And it's reached a fever pitch. It's reached a dangerous fever pitch, and people are going to die. The left is going to claim victims. They tried with Steve Scalise on a baseball field with Republicans. Bernie Sanders supporter, enraged, went after Republicans. Rand Paul was attacked when he was on his riding lawnmower, broke several ribs. People have been accosted at restaurants, driven out of theaters. And it's only going to get worse. And it's only going to get worse. Savannah Guthrie invited Nick Sandmann onto her show the other day. Nick Sandmann has nothing to apologize for. Nick Sandmann was standing there. Nick Sandmann did not approach Nathan Phillips. Nathan Phillips approached Nick Sandmann and the kids from Cov Cath because they knew that they were Catholic kids. They knew that there were white kids. And there were black kids there too, by the way. There were black kids there too. You didn't watch the video, did you? They approached it to be provocateurs. They approached children. They approached children. Children who were being called faggots and white supremacists and crackers and other unspeakable things being screamed at to go back to Europe. Mr. Phillips had a cohort that was there, I told you, yelling, go back to Europe to the kids. He got into this young man's face with a drum. Hey, whatever he's saying. They're saying, he said it was a religious prayer. Well, what religion is he praying to? Nobody's asked him that. I heard my friend Chris Plant say that this morning. What religion is he playing to? What was he singing? What was he singing? I'd like to know. But he's not giving up, man. In fact, he knows that the media is going to follow his false narrative. He knows they will slavishly follow his false false narrative. He's been claiming victim status like so many leftists in this country. You see this time and time again. Claiming they're this, claiming they're that. Elizabeth Warren, claiming that she was a Native American. Never disputing it, that she was the only woman of color on the law review or the staff at Harvard University. Never refuting it. Finally, we find out after a DNA test that I'm more ostrich than she is Native American. But it's a victimhood status. And now Nathan Phillips, who had an unremarkable career in the military, who claimed that he was in Vietnam. Everybody's saying that there were just people around him that did that, and media organizations around him saying he went to Vietnam. He was actively playing the Vietnam, I got spat on, returned home from Vietnam. I mean, this is a shameful thing. But he's been saying that for years. Here, let me see if I can find Nathan Phillips, the great Nathan Phillips, who was a refrigerator repairman in the Army, by the way. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Yeah, here we go. This is Nathan Phillips, the brave warrior from Vietnam.
That's my birthday. I'm going to be 63. I'm a Vietnam times veteran. Honorable discharge, yeah.
I'm a Vietnam times veteran. Honorable discharge.
I never really asked my government for nothing, you know. When I come home, Those times I got spit on, actually spit on, called a baby killer.
Okay. When I come home, okay, he's a Vietnam Times veteran. I hate to tell you this, kids. He was saying that he went to Vietnam, he came back, and people call him a baby killer. If you don't understand, and if you're still willing to deny that, you're an ignoramus. You're dangerously stupid. Let's hear it again.
May 2nd, that's my birthday. I'm going to be 63. I'm a Vietnam Times veteran. Honorable discharge, yeah. I never really asked my government for nothing.
Never asked my government for nothing. After years of being a refrigerator technician in the Army, I never asked my government for anything.
You know, when I come home...
When I come home from where? When I come home from where, fool?
Those times I got spit on, actually spit on, called a baby killer.
You are a fake, a fraud, a phony, a toothless old loser who's never had a job. I'm not going to give you some sort of reverence because of your tribal membership or your lineage. I'm not going to give you a bit of reverence, as I know you would not give me the same. Just because you pound a drum in somebody's face and say you're doing a prayer chant means nothing to me. You're not a sage. You're not a tribal elder. I doubt anybody in his supposed tribe would be terribly proud of this fool who does nothing but go around the country and protest as a radical leftist, including the Dakota Pipeline. Oh, that was at the Dakota Pipeline, by the way. He was protesting the Dakota Pipeline there. I'm a Vietnam Times veteran. When I came home, people spat on me and called me a baby killer. Came home from where? Do people do that when you come back from Iowa? And he's milking it, man. He's milking it for all it's worth because he knows that he's not going to be asked the tough questions. He finally had to say to Savannah Guthrie today, yeah, you know what? I never stepped foot in Vietnam. And rather than Savannah Guthrie say, well, why did you say that all this time? Why have you been saying this for all these years? Why do you continue to say that you were a Vietnam Times veteran and that you were spat on when you got back home? Why did you do that? What is the religion you were chanting to? Why was your friend yelling, go back to Europe? Why? Why didn't you confront the black Israelites who were the real violent ones there? But those questions don't get asked. He just slips it into the interview. Yeah, you know what? I'm a Vietnam Times veteran, but never actually went to Vietnam. Now, I'm going to share Savannah Guthrie some interviews, a little bit of the interview with Nick Sandman, but this fool, chief running mouth, Nathan Phillips, said, I was upset. I was made to sit down and watch it. I was made to sit down and watch it. I read his statement, and then when I got into the first 30 seconds of the interview, that's all I needed to hear. Coached and written up for him. Insincerity, lack of responsibility. Those are the words I came up with, he said of the Teens interview. There was a lot of times he could have walked away. There was. Good English there, chief running mouth. The statement that he wrote and the video statement he put out, what it says is he has a PR firm. And, by the way, his family does, pretty much just to save the kid's life. Oh, by the way, Chief Running Mouth says that he heard the students chant "Build the Wall," despite it not being audible in the two videos that emerged of the conflict. This according to the UK Daily Mail, which is left-leaning publication. So they didn't hear "Build the Wall." They didn't hear "See a Tomahawk Chop." Oh, by the way, in April, he was protesting the Dakota Pipeline. He said his role was a recon ranger from the Vietnam Times. He was a recon ranger. He was a refrigerator repairman. Honestly, this is what the left does. This is why there are all the fake hate crimes on campus. You know, the kids who somebody drew a swastika on my door. No, they didn't. You just wanted to call attention to yourself. You wanted to victimize yourself. You want to be a member of the victim class. That's what Elizabeth Warren did. Oh, these T-shirts up here, by the way. These are my T-shirt designs. Pretty cool. Oh, I need to put the new Elizabeth Warren up there. Oh, it's really good. I've got a bunch of cool stuff up here. You'll notice tpublic.com/user/conservaties. Make America Bait Again. These are politically incorrect designs. They're meant to be funny, actually, and they are. Hillary in 20 never. Okay. That's very popular. Get it on a T-shirt. Get it on whatever. Socialism sucks, and it does. Look at Venezuela. It always has. It always does. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, dimwit offering free shit. There you go. We took the I out just in case you're out at Cheesecake Factory, and you don't want that on your shirt. You know. Here's a little bit. Let's share a little bit of the interview with Nick Sandmann, who's a 16-year-old kid who just went through puberty about 4 years ago, and he is at the center of a hate spiral. He is at the center of a hate spiral from the left. It is quite simply breathtaking. It is very, very shameful. I can't even imagine how this kid even copes. How could you go through this as a kid? Could you survive this? Hold on, let me see. I'm looking for it here. Hold on. Guthrie bag. Okay. Get into that. Here's Savannah Guthrie asking, saying basically because he was wearing a hat that the president supports the president that he shouldn't have been wearing. It was like provocative.
Was slandered by the African Americans who had called us all sorts of things.
As for those red "Make America Great Again" hats that some students were wearing, Sanders says.
Wait. Did you hear what he just said? Listen to the beginning here.
Was slandered by the African Americans who had called us all sorts of things.
Okay, so he said the African Americans who were there slandered them and called them all sorts of names. Savannah Guthrie completely skips past it. Completely skips past it. Watch.
As for those red "Make America Great Again" hats that some students were wearing, Sandmann says he bought his that day from a street vendor in Washington.
Okay, now this is the next narrative from the left, that wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat is provocative, and better yet, there are some who are claiming it's like having a KKK hood. Okay, this is the over-the-top, absolutely hysterical, and very dangerous. Very dangerous. And by the way, they mean to do it. Very deliberate, because they want to target everything. Everything. Now it's a "Make America Great Again" hat. If you have a "Make America Great Again" hat, which shows your support for the president, you must take it off, or you are wearing a KKK hood, and consequently, you are a target. They're making people who wear the hat a target. That's the next thing. We've had people have their "Make America Great Again" hats taken off their heads at college speeches. In restaurants, there was a kid who had his hat taken away and had ice soda thrown in his face. That's where they want this to go. They want any sign of support of this president to be taboo, and anyone who does it to be hurt, literally.
Do you think if you weren't wearing that hat, this might not have happened, or it might have been different?
That's possible, but I would have to assume what Mr. Phillips was thinking, and I'd rather let him speak for why he came.
Meanwhile, Mr. Phillips is willing to think all sorts of things about this kid. Mr. Phillips is willing to think all sorts of... He smirked. He smirked at me. He disrespected me. He hates my Native American heritage. He's glad that his ancestors ran us off our land. Okay? And that's what the media is willing to do. They're quite willing to put thoughts into this young man's head.
The conflict has caught the president's attention. He tweeted that Sandmann and his classmates were treated unfairly and have become symbols of fake news. Sandmann says he's appreciative of the president's tweets, but all the attention has taken a toll.
What's this been like for you and for your family?
It's been terrible. People have threatened our lives.
Sandmann says he doesn't want to live his life in...
Okay. Why didn't you ask about the African Americans who are calling them faggots and white trash and worse things? Here's a little bit more from that interview.
Do you feel from this experience that you owe anybody an apology?
Did you ask Nathan Phillips that for approaching the boys? Did you ask him for that? Because it was he who did the provocative act. If he were there to keep the peace, he would have approached the black Israelites and said, did your prayer or whatever you're doing with your drum in his face. But you can't because you're a coward. You'd rather approach children.
Do you see...
I want you to listen to his measured response. Jesuit education, okay? Pretty superior education. A lot of philosophy taught in those schools. Oh, by the way, this right here, it's not a hate symbol. It's not a neo-Nazi symbol. It means our team got a 3-pointer. Just I thought you should know. That was published. That the kids in Cov Cath, there was blackout day one day, and said sometimes like at Duke they do blue out, and people will cover themselves in blue paint, or in this case there was a kid with black paint over his entire body. It's called blackout day. That's what they do. It's not blackface. It is not taunting black people, because these kids, there are black kids who go to that school, and they play sporting events with black kids. And by God, if these kids have been screaming racial epithets and wearing black face at a basketball game, don't you think it would have been in the news? Don't you think? White Catholic school kids in blackface scream racial epithets at black player. There was that still picture with these kids yelling. Yeah, they're going, miss the ball, miss the ball, miss the ball, miss it, yeah, defense, defense. That's what they were screaming. And they, when their team did a three-pointer, they did this, but that's a white supremacist. This is white supremacy now, okay? So you can't get A-okay? Okay. It's white supremacy. Unbelievable.
Your own fault in any way?
As far as standing there, I had every right to do so. My position is that I was not disrespectful to Mr. Phillips. I respect him. I'd like to talk to him. I mean, in hindsight, I wish we could have walked away and avoided the whole thing.
Okay. That's an adult. Okay, that's the adult in the room. That's a smart young man who's just been through hell that no one can imagine. Hell that no one can imagine. Here's a couple of the kids who were there as well, talking about what they've gone through as the raging leftist mob goes after children.
2, 1, kill.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm Grant, and we're here today to talk to you about how the recent negative media controversy has affected us as individuals and our school as a whole. Several media platforms blatantly lied about the events regarding the controversy in D.C., and it has affected us as a community and individuals greatly.
Okay, we're talking about the community, which is Catholics, okay? By the way, I've been to Cov Cath many times. Black kids go to school there, too. Pretty amazing. But this is all about targeting white, presumably heterosexual Catholic males.
There have been many threats against our lives, against our parents. Some of these threats include that we should all be locked in the school and it should be burnt to the ground, the school being bombed, school shooting threats. It's really scary. I know that a lot of people are scared to go to school tomorrow and won't be attending because of what could happen.
Yeah, they didn't go to school.
There have been cops there ever since the incident, and I think there will be a lot more tomorrow.
But the left doesn't care about the facts. They don't care about the facts. All they care about is their rage. The left doesn't care. They could watch that video time and time again, and it doesn't get any more ignorant, and it doesn't get any more dangerous than that. The video speaks for itself. The kids weren't doing anything provocative. They were being kids. They were in Washington, D.C. They were there for the March for Life. Oh, yeah. Another thing, they're pro-life. Ooh.
A lot of the negativity and the hate surrounding this event comes from people on social media doxing people that were at the event. I myself
doxing kids who were at the event.
Wasn't even present, but I'm very vocal about defending my school and my peers, and I have been doxed on 3 separate occasions. This is
doxing? Here's where he lives. Go get him.
Led to a tsunami of hateful messages and threats and everything above. I was also doxed, as well as my good friend Grant Neltner, in a tweet.
These are kids. Imagine your son's address, where you are, being broadcast for the sole purpose of someone triggering someone to go hurt him.
A lot of these doxes have been deleted because they realized they were wrong, and they don't want to face the backlash for it. A lot of people's parents were also doxed. Their work was called. This could greatly affect their job. They could be fired. There are real consequences for these actions, and it all spews from a 30-second clip taken out of a 2-hour video out of context, and people jump into conclusions before the full story is released. Nobody did their research, and it's now showing.
And they still aren't doing their research. They're doing this. La, 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 la. I just don't know what to say. I mean, MSNBC CNN, all of these Hollywood celebrities, everybody from Rosie O'Donnell to whoever who jumped to conclusion and just went after these kids. It's just, honestly, here's MSNBC trying to walk things back.
Clarity for our audience who's joining us right now this evening. The young man who is in that video, the man who is effectively face-to-face with the Native American elder, has put out a statement tonight denouncing what he describes as outright lies about him. His name is Nick Sandman. He said he respected all races and was trying to diffuse the situation that took place. He puts out a long statement. Among other things, he basically says that there were some protesters who had come at him and his classmates, and he said, in effect, that he was there with the permission of a teacher who was serving as a chaperone, and he began leading the group of students he was with in school spirit chants to counter the hateful things that were being shouted at our group. He says, I never interacted.
They were shouting school chants because they were being called faggots, white supremacists, and crackers.
With this protester, I did not speak to him.
I don't like using that word, by the way, but I feel like it needs to be said because that's what they said.
Not make any hand gesture or any other aggressive moves. To be honest, I was startled and confused as to why he had approached.
And I just want to clarify, this is why it's very difficult to talk about these things in this short amount of time, but clearly on the video there are some reprehensible actions by these students, the tomahawk chopping, the taunting, even the odd sort of...
What about the black Israelites? What about the black Israelites, a-hole?
Of the kid getting into this man's face. That's clear.
They didn't get into his face. He got into their face.
Clearly evident, and no one can deny it. No one should deny it. At the same time,
Sam Stein, you're an idiot.
Our initial reaction.
Oh, the Daily Beast. Okay, that makes sense.
In the moment of the video last night should be different than when we see more video and when we get more input, including a statement from the student. We should be able to absorb. Our viewpoints should be able to evolve.
Why isn't yours, idiot? Why hasn't yours evolved? Why haven't you mentioned the provocative actions of the black Israelites? Why haven't you mentioned that Nathan Phillips got into the kid's face?
On this incident, I don't think what these kids did was excusable. I do think that we should be able to say it's not necessarily as black and white as we thought last night.
We got to leave this conversation there, but it says a lot about this sort of Twitter culture we live in where 100 and however many characters or a 10-second video is enough for people to draw conclusions. It's reminded all of us we got to wait for answers before we really start to come to our final conclusions on these types of topics. Right after our show tonight, MSNBC.
You know why you're saying that? Because you're going to get your ass sued off. And I hope to hell they take them to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Come on. Oh, I hope and pray that MSNBC is sued to the ends of the earth for this. I don't like to... I like to do satire. You know, I've been writing comedy for Rush. Wrote for him for many years, political satire, because, you know, there's fun in politics. I'm just angry at this. I'm just angry. And my anger is because I want to defend these kids because they didn't do anything wrong. If, in fact, they did the tomahawk chop, that's just stupid. That's just being kids. I never saw it. I've been watching the videotape. Here's Nathan Phillips. I think this might have been one of his first appearances with regard to this.
As Phillips says, he was trying to create calm between two groups at odds.
No, he wasn't.
I realized I had put myself in a really dangerous situation. You know, there's like, here's a group.
Look at him. Look, he's searching. Watch his eyes. Watch his eyes. He's not looking at the reporter. He's not answering. He's creating this as he goes along.
People who were angry at somebody else. And I put myself in front of that, and all of a sudden...
Why didn't you put yourself in front of the black Israelites calling the kids all the things that they were calling the kids?
I'm the one who's all that anger and all that wanting to have the freedom to just rip me apart.
This
is unbelievable. He's acting like the victim here. This is just, honestly, this is sick. Acting like these kids were going to tear him apart. The kids had said nothing of the sort. We're doing nothing of the sort. The black Israelites were the ones who were using the dangerously inflammatory language behind them, the racist, homophobic slurs that they were yelling. Are you kidding me, man?
Video shows what happened long before.
But you weren't threatened by them because you're on their side.
Before Phillips shows up.
Go back to Europe.
You can see a group of about 5 black men who identify as Hebrew Israelites preaching. They start taunting people of all colors, other black visitors, natives, and a Catholic priest.
Let's make America great again. A bunch of child molesting.
Oh, child molesters too, okay.
This is the moment that group becomes aware of the students, some wearing Make America Great Again hats.
And you got these pompous bastards come down here in the middle of a native rally with their dirty-ass hat on.
At first, the Catholic school students are there in small
I
numbers.
get my money back from that street vendor if it's a dirty-ass hat. I mean, that should be a new hat.
But more and more students begin to gather, watching, with few weighing in. The small group of men continues taunting them.
A bunch of incest babies. Run trailer park babies.
Nice.
This is what America Make America Great looks like.
The students begin to react, but do not approach the men. The black Israelites continue to condemn the kids.
You worship blasphemy. We got angels that are blasphemous.
Who's the aggressor here?
Then, one of the students takes off his shirt and the group begins chanting.
Yeah, school chant.
2 minutes later, you hear a drum beat. That is
Nathan.
Phillips and another Native American
get
drummer. He says it was an attempt to thwart potential violence.
Why didn't you do
the
it
kids
for the
dance
black
to it,
Israelites?
and some begin chanting along with the native song. But for those who think they were enjoying each other's company, Phillips says that is not at all how it felt, especially because of the student standing before him.
Fear. Not for myself, but fear for the next generation.
Obviously, you're fearful of the dentist.
Fear where this country's going.
The kids didn't do anything. The kids didn't do anything. What's behind him was doing it.
Fear for those youths. Fear for their future. Fear for their souls, their spirit, their what they're going to do to this country.
Oh, wow.
Now, in the student's statement, he says that...
Wow. He makes up everything of whole cloth as he goes along. Unbelievable. I don't even know. Got a guy who says that he was in Vietnam times. He was in the military in Vietnam times, and when he got home, people spat on him and called him a baby killer. That is the cliche associated with being a Vietnam veteran, and it happened to many Vietnam veterans. It did not happen to this fool. But he's willing to claim victimhood status. Maybe if somebody spat on him and said, "You refrigerator repairman, you fix refrigerators, refrigerator fixer." Maybe that's what they'd call him, yeah. Oh, there were protests at the Covington Catholic school. Cov Cath is what they call it. Let me see if I can find this. This is pretty funny because they're just reaching. Here's a bunch of people who are obviously, again, losers who have no jobs, who are professional protesters. I don't know what this is all about, but apparently the fact that a Native American elder confronts a kid, gets in his face with a drum and beats it, rather than going after the violent, vulgar mob behind him. Suddenly, it's about Native American mascots, I guess.
Losing people that are mascot supporters and that believe the gaslighting bullshit that's going on in trying to turn this story around and make it seem...
The mascot supporters? Like what? The Duke Blue Devils? What? I mean, okay.
Like our elder Nathan Phillips was the antagonizer. They have plenty. They can have their own rally. They can do their own thing because they're getting plenty of space time right now.
Yeah, they're getting plenty of space time. They're getting plenty of space time on Twitter, on all sorts of social media. Lots of threats. Plenty of that right there. Yeah. Plenty of plenty of doxing, getting a lot of space time. People coming to their houses and stuff, threatening them,
This is our space time right now.
People can barely speak.
Our time. At our moment. And I want to make sure everybody knows that this doesn't have to be the one and only time.
Yeah.
We can continue to organize this because this is not an isolated incident.
Yes. Well,
this happens every day and gets no media attention.
No, it doesn't. You're wrong.
Okay, so we need to continue on this. We need to hold people accountable. Not just these students,
They're not saying, she's not saying anything. She's not saying anything. She's trying to create a movement from nothing.
There's a lot of students across this country that do the same thing, and because they have white privilege and entitlement, get away with doing it.
Gotcha, okay. There's the white privilege.
So, again, I want to remind people we can organize another one.
Yes.
And at the end of this, we're actually going to be sending a delegation to speak to the diocese. So stay tuned.
There's no reason to, because the diocese hasn't done anything, and neither did these kids. So I don't know what you're kind of, do you have some demands or something? Is that what it is? Do you want something because of this? Because nothing happened to this old fool who doesn't have a job and is a professional protester and a radical leftist who's been lying about his military service? This is our time. Okay, all right. What exactly is your... Like Antifa, what is their stated position? I mean, they're radical leftists. They want the country to go down in flames. They hate Trump supporters. They are communistic. They are fascistic, even though they call themselves the Antifa, which is one of the stupidest names ever, by the way. We're the Antifa. Whoever came up with that. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Oh, MSNBC. Hold on, let me find this guy. I gotta talk about the MSNBC. Because nobody is defending the white boys. The guy on, Eddie Glaude on defending the, why you shouldn't defend the Covington kids.
Opposite story.
Well, we should note we have reached out to the other man in that video, Nathan Phillips, to comment on Sandman's statement that he has nothing to apologize for. He did not provide comment, but he has told us in previous interviews that he walked between the students to intervene, but soon felt threatened when the students surrounded him. We'll have his response to the interview tomorrow morning on Today. But joining me right now, Princeton University professor, chairman of the Center for African American Studies, also an MSNBC contributor, Professor Eddie Glaude. Professor Glaude, thank you, sir, for your time this afternoon, or this morning, I should say. Even before Savannah's interview aired, there was a lot of backlash to even hearing that young man's take on what happened.
Yeah, because nobody wanted to hear it on the left. Nobody wanted to hear his take. They'd already made up their minds. They knew what was in his head. They knew that he was white privileged. He knew that he was proud that Native Americans were driven off their land. He's a white privileged white supremacist, obviously.
Are we at a point in our society where we can't even hear out a possible explanation of things?
It's amazing how MSNBC suddenly wants to hear the explanation after they carried the narrative that this kid was a white supremacist for days, to the point that the kids were doxxed, to the point that they were being threatened online with pushing everybody into the building, locking the doors, and burning the damn building down. Now suddenly MSNBC, should we listen to the story of the kid? I mean, do you suppose that's important now?
Well, I think we're always going to face...
He's the head of the African American Studies at Princeton, so I'm sure he has a very neutral position.
People who have their assumptions affirmed by video footage and the like, folks who are in their...
Or not watching video footage at all?
Their isolated silos, correct? But I think more than anything underneath...
Like academia, you mean?
Some of the backlash against hearing the young man is this question. Who are allowed the innocence of childhood, right? So you saw the image, and then there was this attempt to kind of give a fuller account of the young man. And I think a lot of folks were asking the question, why do we always do this in these sorts of cases when white boys are involved? And what do we do? How do we react when brown and black kids are involved? And people saw the difference. And I think that was underneath it all, if that makes sense.
Not at all. It's not at all. But of course, you look through to the world in ebony-colored glasses. That's what you do.
It does. It makes a lot of sense to me. One of the things that the young man...
No, it was just objectivity. It wasn't the color of the kids' skins. And I don't recall that there were a group of black students being taunted by an old, unemployed, toothless Indian, Native American, who's a professional protester and radical leftist, being taunted by white supremacists screaming words like faggot at them. I don't think that's happened. But I would assume that generally maybe some more attention would have been paid to the black Israelites had they been white Israelites saying the same thing. screaming, go, and the Native American activists saying, go back to Africa. Tell me that the media coverage would not have been sympathetic for the African American kids. Please. Please. But because these are white kids, that doesn't matter. This over here doesn't matter if the white kids are over here. It's just unbelievable. Wearing Make America Great Again hats is now akin to wearing a KKK hood. All right. So if you do that, you are essentially a white supremacist who wants to lynch black people. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, here we go. This is the exchange on MSNBC and CNN. On CNN, Angela Rye likened the MAGA hat to KKK hood. Here is the video.
Right. What they're dealing with when immediately
I hear
are accused of something.
I hear the argument. It's just so hard to accept, Angela, because I've never seen a man in elected office, let alone the presidency, dissemble, divide, misstate, and lie as often as this president has. So the idea that he's offended by things that aren't accurate, it's a little hard to believe.
You know, you're such a douche. The left started dividing the country when Barack Obama was the president. Okay, this happened a lot further ago than the Trump administration's, the Trump presidency. This started a long time ago. A long time ago. The country has been divided upon. Barack Obama did it intentionally. Divided us along race, ethnic, sexuality, socioeconomic status.
Well, and not only is it hard to believe, it's hard to accept. I wish that...
It's just, you're saying that Donald Trump is tearing the country apart because you hate him. Because you hate the fact that he was elected. So you are tearing yourself apart because he won. All right? And therefore, because you disagree with him, he's tearing the country apart.
For one moment, right, we can talk about what we see, because people are talking about, well, what is happening right now as a result of what happened in this particular incident is our varying perspectives. And I think that's such a powerful point. Like, forget Donald Trump for a moment and just think about the symbol of that red hat. When I see the Make America Great Again hat now, Chris, I am triggered. I'm so triggered.
So what? So what? So that hat pisses you off, and so therefore it's bad. You know what pisses me off? When I see a bumper sticker on a car that says coexist and religious symbols. Because I know it's a bunch of crap. When I see war is not the answer on a car. Well, yeah, sometimes it is. Sometimes the bad guys need their asses kicked. I don't give a rat's ass if you are triggered. Because your speech is triggering me right now. So what? Let's listen to this academic. She obviously has her talking points down perfectly.
Great Again hat now, Chris, I am triggered. I'm so triggered. Andre, I think in a lot of ways our friendship has been compromised by the fact that you continue to support this man. The one thing I will say...
because you disagree with him. Your friendship has been compromised because you choose to support this president. Most of my friends in Maryland have unfriended me on Facebook because I occasionally would put on my regular Facebook page, I don't do politics anymore, but they unfriended me. They liked it when I was a music playing disc jockey on Mix 107.3 in Washington, D.C. They loved that. And then I let my politics show. Now, they knew that I was conservative. They knew that I had written for Rush for many years. But when I started to do talk radio, suddenly I'm spewing hate. All I'm doing is espousing a viewpoint. I don't espouse hate. I don't. I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump as a person, but I support him. But if you support him on the left, you are jeopardizing our friendship because you support this president. Did anyone say because you support? If he said and Barack Obama was a president, you've really jeopardized our friendship by supporting Barack Obama. How do you think that would fly?
Say to you, to be absolutely fair, is more than anybody else that I know on this network, you will regularly take Donald Trump to task. I don't agree with you on this last point, but this Make America Great Again hat is just as maddening and frustrating and triggering for me to look at as a KKK hood. Like,
that is inflammatory. That is irresponsible. That is sickening. It's sickening to the memory of those who saw Klansmen approach them before they were lynched. Are you out of your mind? Are you off your nut completely? You're only saying this because you can't find anything more bombastic to say. The left is going for the most bombastic, outrageous thing they can say, and they keep pushing it, and I don't know how much further they can go than saying that a 16-year-old kid who bought a Make America Great Again hat, which is a pop culture symbol that shows support of a president, he bought it from a street vendor, and he put it on, and she's saying that kid should be on horseback, riding with fellow Democrats, because the KKK is founded by Democrats, and made up of Democrats, that they should be on horseback looking for black people to lynch.
But this Make America Great Again hat is just as maddening and frustrating and triggering for me to look at as a KKK hood. Like, that is the type of hatred that his policies represent. And until we can have common ground and understanding about that it's that triggering, we're going to continue to have problems.
Final word, Andre. If it triggers you, then honestly, tough shit. Honestly, if it triggers you, too bad, so sad for you, you pathetic loser. You're only saying it because you don't want the hat to be worn. You're only saying it because you don't want anyone who supports Donald Trump to say they support Donald Trump. That's it. That's all. It's about shutting down free speech. That's what this all is about. It has to become so socially unacceptable and even dangerous to support Donald Trump that you don't even try to admit publicly you support him. That's what this all is about. It's shutting down political discourse. I don't care that it triggers you. I'm going to wear one. I don't even have one. I don't even have a Make America Great Again hat, but I want to wear one now. And it's not because I'm a white supremacist. Dear Lord. Here's what the left does at protests, okay? This is what the left does at protests. This is what Chief Running Mouth did, okay? This is what Chief Running Mouth did. This is at the pro-life rally in Washington, D.C., this is a pro-choice, pro-abortion protester.
It's a unique life. It's a unique life.
My body, my choice.
It's a child. It's not your body.
My body, my choice.
It's not your body. It's a child.
My body, my choice.
So you think you can kill...
Oh, there you go. Now, kind of like having a drum in your face.
The child.
No uterus, no opinion. No uterus, no opinion.
That's kind of a big...
What about if the person in your uterus has a uterus?
No opinion.
Stop
it's
killing
not
babies,
a
seriously.
baby.
It is
it's
a baby.
Blob of
It's
cells.
So are you, a giant, fat blob of cells. This is what the left does. This is what the left does. Hi. Same thing, guys.
Fear on you.
Do you?
I smell fear on you. I smell fear on you.
I think you could probably smell a donut on him, but I don't know if you smell fear. I certainly wouldn't be afraid of you.
This march is supposed to be about science, and yet you reject the scientific fact that life begins at conception. You say my body, my choice, and yet you can look at these photos of these tiny torn up babies and you
Holding men
it's
accountable.
not your body.
Hold men accountable.
Your body.
Hold men accountable for going to the abortion clinic and getting an abortion. And a good share of the time not telling anybody. Does it really convince anybody to yell at them? I mean, does it really change their mind, or is it just provocative? It's just provocative. It's just provocative. It's not meant to convert anybody. I mean, we do protests. I understand protests, sure. But does it really convince someone to come to your side if you get in their face and yell at them? No, of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. I want to share this. Hakeem Jeffries, member of Congress, was on, I believe this is... CNN or MSNBC, and he has been part of this mob. He has been part of this vile mob that's whipped the country into a frenzy, like Maxine Waters and others saying that Donald Trump is a white supremacist. There are Nazis in the White House. Here he is backtracking. It has to be on MSNBC because they're backtracking on everything now about some things that are very blatantly obvious.
Once we get the government back open.
All right, let me talk to you about you. You are a leader now with the Democrats. You like a colorful turn of phrase.
Yeah, a colorful turn of phrase. You bet. Wait till you hear his colorful phrase.
You've had one that's been chasing you around. I want to get to the bottom of it. Let me play some sound for people.
We have a hater in the White House. The birther-in-chief of the Grand Wizard of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Wolf Blitzer in the past has asked me whether I believe the president is a racist, and I've consistently said no. I did use a colorful phrase, but of course I don't believe that the president is a card-carrying member of the KKK.
Now, wait a minute. He kind of changed his... Listen to him speaking now. Of course I don't think he is a member of the KKK, but when he's in front of a congregation... Let's hear it again.
Around, I want to get to the bottom of it. Let me play some sound for people.
We have a hater in the White House.
He gets all,
The birther-in-chief.
The birther-in-chief.
Of the Grand Wizard of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Wolf Blitzer in the past has asked me whether I believe the president is a racist, and I've consistently said no.
Well, why don't you speak like that now? I have consistently said that the president is not a white supremacist. Why don't you talk like that again, bud?
I did use a colorful phrase.
Colorful phrase. It's not colorful at all. It's saying he's the Grand Wizard, and that is the exalted leader of the KKK. We all know that. It's fairly obvious. There's no denying it whatsoever. That you would even say that you didn't call him a white supremacist by saying that. It'd be like saying Donald Trump is the Fuhrer, but I don't think he's a Nazi. Yeah.
But of course I don't believe that the president is a card-carrying...
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe, no. I'm wrong. No, you don't. But you know that if you say that, many of your ilk will believe you. You know that he's not. Oh, my God, you just exposed yourself there. Of course you don't. I don't believe he's a card-carrying member of the white supremacist. I don't believe he's a white supremacist. But then when he's out in public, he calls him the Grand Wizard of the KKK. Of course, he in his soul knows that Donald Trump is not a white supremacist. But that doesn't mean he won't convey to his followers and make them believe he is.
Member of the KKK.
What were you going for by calling him the Grand Wizard?
Well, let me again stipulate to the fact that I do not believe that...
Stipulate to the fact, okay?
Donald Trump is a card-carrying member of the KKK. However... he does have a long and inappropriate and invidious history.
An invidious history.
Of racially inflammatory behavior. In the 1970s, he presided over the Trump Organization that was sued by the Nixon Justice Department for racial discrimination against thousands of black and Latino housing applicants. In the 1980s, he led the lynch mob that went after the Central Park Five, black and Latino young men wrongfully accused, wrongfully convicted, wrongfully imprisoned for a crime
what about the one of Raleigh?
Did not commit. For 5 years, Donald Trump perpetrated the racist lie that Barack Obama was not born in the United States of America to delegitimize the first black president in the United States.
Barack Obama milked that for all it was worth. He did not come up with his birth certificate and well into his presidency, and he went to Hawaii to get it. Okay? So, what's crazier? Not believing that Barack Obama was born in the United States when his grandmother said he wasn't, or believing that George W. Bush and Republicans took down the Twin Towers. He said he doesn't believe that. You're citing all these things that he supposedly did in his past. He's saying that I don't believe that he's a white supremacist. I don't believe that he's a racist. And then you're citing all these things that say he's a racist. All right? So you need to make up your mind. I mean, you obviously want to foment rage. You want to create hatred. You're unabashedly anti-Trump. And now you're saying, but I don't think he's a racist. Now you can't play it both ways. You can't play it both ways. I felt like I needed to say this today, guys. I felt like I needed to say this, and I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. And, I will return to the more, sometimes you just need to talk about some stuff, and sometimes you just need to fight back. That's what I wanted to do today, because I'm tired of it. And I don't know where we're going to go. If we can destroy the lives of 16-year-olds and say you want to lock them up in their high school and burn the building down and watch them all die, or you want to offer BJs to punch a 16-year-old in the face, or you want a kid to run headlong into a wood chipper, or just die, or say that a MAGA hat is a KKK hood, and so obviously the next time you see someone in a MAGA hat, they are people who would ride horseback and lynch black people. I don't know if we can go lower. I don't know if we go lower. And if we do go lower, where do we go from there? Because this is not normal. This is not, I don't know. I don't know. There are days I just want to say, give up on Facebook. I don't want to post anything. I do have a political blog that is political. That I have a food blog, because I think we can all be, we can all enjoy food together. We can break bread with each other. And I'm on a new network called Spoonie.com, where I'm going to have a show called Sound Bites with Rob Carson. And then I've got a regular personal page that I just put stuff, but people are so uncivil. And I react to the news, and I post news stories, but I get such venom directed at me. I just don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. I mean, I want to fight back. I want to fight back. I want to fight for these kids. Those are some people I want to fight for, because this is about as low as it gets to want a school burned down and all the children inside burned to death. What the hell are you thinking? What is wrong with you? So I will just close things by saying, pray for the country, pray for all of us, and occasionally take a deep breath, back away, and maybe even give somebody a hug. I don't know. I don't know where else to go. If you get a chance to order, sometimes war is the answer. It is true. tpublic.com/user/conservatives. Make America bait again. See, that's funny. And it's not triggering unless you don't eat fish. Maybe. Hillary in 20 never. We've got a new Elizabeth Warren shirt up there. I'll make sure to get this up on the broadcast again very soon. If you would go there and order, we'd greatly appreciate it, okay? In the meantime, follow me on Facebook at Rob Carson Show. You can also follow me on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Spreely, Spreely.com. That is the Facebook alternative created by my friend Terry Littlepage. Spreely.com. Become a member, okay? It is Facebook freedom. It is basically, they will not boot you. They will not blacklist you for your political viewpoints. Join Spreely and follow me there at Rob Carson. In the meantime, God bless, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now.